This is the Sony 14mm 1.8G master lens, and I am going to shoot a gig on it tonight. Now, I've never shot a gig this wide before. Usually I shoot on the 24-70, so the 14 is going to be giving me something quite different, I think. There's a bit of a trend at the moment in gig photography, well, two actually, that I think I've seen. The first one is this sort of barrel distortion, fisheye style, which really just sits real far back from the artist and kind of shoots over them, I guess, and kind of into the audience also. And then the second kind of style that I've seen that's been really popular at the moment that I've done a little bit of is this low shutter sort of fast movement style where bits of the artist stay in focus, but either, you know, you'll rotate on a single axis to give either like a swirling or a swaying motion. I think that there is one, let me find who they are. What's his name? I believe it's this guy's work, Lloyd Wakefield. He's the photographer, it looks like, for Harry Styles. And I think some of the stuff is like the coolest stuff where it's not super low shutter, but they've got a little bit of movement in like his arms and his hands. Oh, and there's also this version of like the barrel kind of fisheye look. I originally wasn't gonna shoot for this band tonight, but they needed someone last minute, so they contacted me, and I decided to hit up my local rental place because I don't have a wide angle lens or a fisheye lens, and I asked them, hey, what have you got in stock? And they said, not a fisheye lens, and I said, great. What else can we do? And I sealed on the trusty 14mm. And the reason why I went for 14mm, well, firstly, obviously, is because it's the widest lens that I think they offer in the G Master range, and I couldn't actually get my hands on anything wider. So I decided to go for the widest that was there, and I thought, let's give it a shot. I've never shot on a wide angle lens as wide as the 14. I've done a 16mm before for some real estate photography stuff. 14mm gig photography. Let's try it out, I guess. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. Come along. I'll be shooting some stuff. I'm going to do a little bit of video along the way, and I'll share my photos, and then I just guess I talk about them afterwards and the experience of how it went. Let's give it a whirl. What the heck? That lens is so wide. So, it's the day after, and I've just finished editing all the photos, so let's talk about them. Overall, I think it went pretty well. At the time, I was feeling nervous, I guess, and pretty unhappy with how the shots were looking, just like as I was taking them. There are a few things about the situation that kind of weren't ideal, but you got to work with what you've got. And then kind of when I was editing them, I was pretty happy. Yeah, let's talk about it. The 14mm is absolutely sick, but it does have some annoying things with it. First is that I am used to filming with a big monitor on top of my camera where I can see everything. And when you're shooting on a 14mm and you are capturing just heaps of detail and stuff, and you're trying to view it on a tiny little viewfinder or the screen, it was really hard to actually see what I was capturing a lot of the time, and I was just kind of felt like I was that photographer that was just like pushing the button and kind of hoping for the best sometimes. But I guess with a bit of experience and a bit more time with the lens, you get a bit more used to how it, you know, composes frames. But I just was like way out of my depths in terms of knowing what a 14mm looks like on a full frame. Like, I just haven't shot that before, so a lot of the time I couldn't visualize what a frame would look like in my head before shooting it. I had to shoot it and then kind of go, oh, you know, looking on the little screen going, yeah, I guess that looks all right. But that was all right. I was planning on switching between my 35mm and the 14mm, but I ended up just not doing that, and I just stayed on the 14 the entire time, and that worked perfectly fine. It was a really fun lens to use. The benefit was that I could go on stage, and I was pretty much on stage the entire time. If you didn't have that ability, I can imagine the 14mm wouldn't be as useful or as practical. It was really effective when I was able to get like right up to the musicians, either their, you know, instruments or their faces or something. So let's take a look at some of the photos. I did try to do some of the low shutter swirly photos, and some of them turned out really just like super swirly. Artistic, you might say. There's one in particular, this black and white one here, that I do really like because it still keeps a lot of the detail of their faces and what's going on. It's just kind of their limbs and instruments that are blurred. The swirly ones all together, I don't know what the stabilization is like on this lens. I probably should have checked that out beforehand. They just seem to turn out way more, like when I crank the shutter down low, it turned out way more shaky than I have experienced on other lenses. But I was still really happy with how they turned out. The fact that this goes down to 1.8 was really helpful because it was, like I said, super dark, especially around the drummers area. Didn't capture a lot of great drumming photos just because there were no lights actually on the drummer, which was really annoying. Like no permanent lights, only when it flashed up, and he was right on the opposite side of stage to where I was, so I didn't want to just like walk over and stand there. Yeah, I'm really happy with the full band shots. I'm really happy with these shots that I took at the end of the band, down low looking up at the singer in the middle, and then, you know, the guitarist on either side. I think that was probably my favorite shot, especially this black and white one here. Overall, I had a really great experience with this lens. You know, if you have the opportunity to try out new lenses and new stuff in kind of a low risk environment, why not? Rent lenses, test them out, see, you know, what tickles your fancy. I'm rambling, but there is something I still want to say, and that is, I think it would be really cool to shoot some more video on the wide angle. I just think it gives such a sick perspective. And I think it's like the wide is more noticeable in video than it is in photos. I don't know if that's just me. Wide video feels more wide than wide photo, even though it's the same. I don't know. Very cool. Catch you later. Thanks for watching this video. Big shout out to Flaxxies. That's the band. I don't think I said their name at all, but if I did, cool. But if I didn't, they're the Flaxxies. They're a sick band here in Auckland. You should definitely check their music out. They just dropped an EP. Sunstruck. It's pretty awesome. Their music is really sweet. I've been to like 6 of their gigs now just because I love their stuff. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Oh, I hope that this was all in focus.